Good afternoon, everyone. This is Aiko again from Texas. And although we're looking for maybe a little cooler weather coming in this weekend, we are still quite warm today, but just the anticipation of some autumn temps sounds great, especially if it's not even yet September. So I'm sure it's only a fluke for a little while. Well, today I'd like to present a deck review of a real cute oracle deck of mine called Inspirational Visions. And I think you can see by the top of it, it is very whimsical, and the artwork is just like that, quite whimsical and colorful. It's got a lot of, it looks kind of like watercolor motif, I would guess, or media, as far as the paint style. It is by Judy Mastrangelo, and it comes in a box. It looks like from the top, you can see when it sits on your shelf, it actually looks like a book, and I love those type. It's in a very nice hard box that is magnetic on the side, so it opens this way with the little magnets to the side. It wasn't an especially inexpensive deck. I think it was $30 when I got it, but it's a 2020 deck, so I'm sure that it's still available out there, or if it's not, I'm sure that you can find it on eBay if somebody is selling it. It does come with a guidebook on the inside. On the flap is about the author, and it says that Judy Mastrangelo has painted all of her life, and she daydreams about her paintings for a while before putting them on canvas. This preliminary technique of what she calls mind painting helps her to develop an imaginative work of art. She licenses her artwork in several markets, and many products using her paintings are available for purchase to the public, such as wall murals and art prints of her paintings. And she leaves where you can find her author's page is on Amazon, and she has that in here where you can go, and if you want to pause this and write that down, you are welcome to do so. And that's where you can go to learn more about her art and products. And she says to visit her at www.judymastrangelo.com. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's take a look at the guidebook and then at the beautiful cards. Now, this deck is really kind of cool. She talks initially in her book about how she develops her artwork through this thing called mind painting. And I read that, and because I'm an artist myself and enjoy doing all kinds of art styles and stuff, mostly mine is on a pen tablet, graphic arts, but I do canvas work as well. But I thought it was this mind painting information was very informative, and I'd never ever heard of it. But it's how she pictures things in her mind and then starts sketching them. She calls it her secret sanctuary, where she goes into her mind to create, and here's the method that she talks about, that she uses. Throughout the book, I will tell you that you can hear it like this first one, Alice and the White Rabbit. Well, we know that is from the Adventures of Alice in Wonderland. And it's kind of her interpretation of how she envisioned it for herself, and then puts it onto an oracle card. And each one of them in here, she has kind of done the same thing. So you are going to see familiar characters that you probably saw growing up in different fairy tales and folk tales. Here's Hansel and Gretel. And we all know the story of Hansel and Gretel. Most of us do. Here's Jack and the Giant. So I think if you really love old time stories and you remember them from your childhood, I think you're really going to love this book. There's the Pegasus horse, but we're going to take a look at the um, deck in just a moment. So you'll see all these cards in just a second. This is her. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. Because I think it was kind of nice. At the end of her book, she says, "You can become your own magician and continue to create and experience many of your own original inspirational visions." So she's sending you off with a message here that you're going to be witnessing her visions. However, she's telling you that you have them too, and that you certainly can be creative. And she's just sharing with you, her style of this mind painting, but she welcomes you to mind paint for yourself. So I think that was probably pretty cool. And I enjoyed it being an artist. All right, let's get into the cards. I think I'm going to kind of go back out just a wee bit so we can get into the cards. I have to move my little, this is my little wizard guy. If you can see his little face there, he holds some of my D&D dice from my D&D games. And then I've got a lot of crystals and stuff in here. And I didn't know if I had ever shown that to y'all. It's been on several, it's usually, he's sitting here on my desk, as is my little sleeping dragon. He's my sweet little dragon. And he's a little, gosh, I didn't even know that I still had a bunch of stuff in here, but I obviously have a bunch of jewelry inside of this little dragon. He sits on my desk as well with his little red eyes. My son and his fiance picked this up for me in Hawaii. So I think that's where they got it, Hawaii. Okay, so let's get into the deck and take a look at these cards. Set the box to the side. And this is the deck. It is gilded in this beautiful blue foil type gilding. And it's very, very shiny. Some people like more of the matte gilding. It doesn't bother me whichever way they go. And even if it isn't gilded, I like them. I like them just the same. I can't find too many cards that I don't like. I tend to not be especially drawn to pip decks just because I tend to read intuitively, and if there's just a little, like, 4 symbols there, or 4 swords sitting there, or 8 swords sitting there, I know the RWS, and I would then have to refer back to that, or I probably would anyway, but I kind of like to see things within the picture and discover meanings through what I'm looking at, rather than just a bunch of symbols. So that's just me. Other people are really do love pip decks, and that's everybody. That's the beautiful thing about tarot and oracle is there's going to be decks you're drawn to, and there's going to be decks that you totally have no interest in, or they just may sit on your shelf as a collector and you want to keep them and you don't want to rehome them because they feel part of you, but yet maybe you aren't the ones that you're going to choose to work with. Okay, so let's just start. I'll just let you know these do shuffle nicely. They're a very glossy. You can see in my light. Yeah, if I can hang them the right way. See, they're quite glossy. They do a little bit of a spread across, not as well as linen cards, but they work pretty good. Okay, so let's get going on some of these. Well, that was one of the last pictures we looked at, Mounting Pegasus. Now, the neat thing about these cards, and let me go back into my zoom in, because I think the closer we get, the better you'll see these. Ascend to Great Heights. The thing I like about this is even though you have this guidebook, and you can pull it up and you can read in there, of course, what the guidebook says, you don't have to, because you've got a little blip down here at the bottom, Ascend to Great Heights. And so it's kind of telling you this oracle deck will pair very well with a lot of my more fantasy tarot decks. And I could probably pick any of them and pair this one right up with it and be quite satisfied with how I would read this. So that's Mounting Pegasus. Here's Bunny Gardener. Home is where your spirit dwells. I love that. See, a lot of these colors and schemes and flowers, and this one's got pansies, little pansies in there. And the little jacket on the bunny, they take me back to what I felt as a child. I remember I had a great childhood, and I just remember all the little stories that I was told by my mother when I was growing up. Penguin riding by. Laughter lets the sunshine in. Oh, do I love this card. I think that's so sweet. One of my very first books that I read, wasn't a very good reader as a child, but I soon became, but believe it or not, my profession was a school librarian for elementary school aged children. But the first book that I really read all the way through was Mr. Popper's Penguins. I can't even remember who the author is of that book, but I just remember it's Mr. Popper's Penguins, and that kind of reminds me, not so much that penguin, but just penguins in general. That's what I always think of as that book. Peaceful Garden, Send Healing Thoughts. We're going to stop shortly, and I'll pull the book out and read. They're not very long, so this one's Paradise of Children. Imagine your dream world. Every message in this entire Oracle deck is inspirational. It is a vision. It is a wonderful, positive, uplifting, and just get your spirits on the right page. So this would be a great morning deck. Pull it in the morning. Set your day off on a great journey. Morning Glory Fairy. Discover the innocence and beauty of flowers. Oh, there's Puck. Puck's Magic Flower of Sleep. Understand the messages given you in dreams. Do you ever write down your dreams? I have a lot of dreams, and most of my dreams, I think, for me, happen closer to the morning. And I have woken up and I know the dream, and I should write them down. They do mean things, and I often wonder, I wish there was a way of replaying them sometimes. One time I dreamed it was Christmas morning, and I woke up and it was like the middle of summer, and I was so disappointed because I love Christmas. Celestial Cherub. Guardian angels watch over us at night to make sure our sleep is safe and sound. And I certainly believe that. Guardian angels are our spirit guides. I think they're with us at all times, as are our ancestral spirits. Knight and the Dragon. Feel your power. Ooh, that sounds like a good one to read in the book. So I'm going to push that up there a little bit, pull him down so you can still see him. And I hope these are in alphabetical order. Yes, they are. That helps. Okay, so Knight of the Dragon says, stand up to battle the threatening dragons of life. These monstrous evil creatures come in many forms, wrongdoing, sickness, and untruths, to name a few. You are a superhero, so be not afraid to wear your shining armor to shield you from the ferocious blast of fire. If you have not been courageous in the past, now is the time to be the master of your fate. Exert an effort to become healthy in mind and body, so that you can defeat those monstrous and belligerent beasts. You will be glad to make a stand to right the wrongs and heal the world for yourself and others. You can do this through the strength of spirit and will. That is a true hero. So you see, they're short, but to the point and just great to live your life by. Okay, Merlin and young Arthur. Listen to your inspirational spiritual teachers. We were just talking about that. Sometimes they visit us in our dreams. Dogwood Fairy. There's dogwood trees all over where I live in East Texas. So that fits for around where I live. The Magic Flute. Listen to the lilting music of Pan. Lonely dragon, life can be sad, but don't despair. Okay, I'm going to stop now. I'm going to put the rest of the cards to some music for you, and we will return shortly. Hey, I came back to this one because I wanted to read one more, and I really like this gingerbread witch, so I'm going to read that one to you as the last one before I bid you adieu. The gingerbread witch says, "Don't be afraid of creatures from the dark side." Throughout books and movies, we find characters who appear negative and evil. They are very familiar to you, represented by demons, dragons, and witches. As children, you might have feared them. When you grew older, you may have met people who seem similar to these fantasy villains. You must become strong and understand that these people are not to be feared. Have the strength to stand up to them and say to yourself, "I'm not afraid of you." They then will seem less harmful, and on closer look could even appear pathetic and even laughable. Always be brave and stand up for your rights. Not to be bullied. You are a wonderful and valuable person. So I kind of picked a funny one for me because I love all things witchy, and I don't consider witches evil whatsoever. I think some things in society cause that, and movies and stories and social media and all kinds of things caused people to fear witches, but I do think that there is very, very good witches. And so that's weird that I picked that one, but I was very drawn to the witch card because I like that. Okay, so I am going to return our little deck, and thank you for sharing with us. Little deck here, Inspirational Visions by Judy Mastrangelo. Mastrangelo, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how you say it. But I want to thank you for tuning in. This one's a little bit longer, so it might take a while for me to upload. If you can, subscribe to my channel. All the people who subscribe and leave a thumbs up or a comment are helping me grow my channel. Hopefully I'll get bigger and bigger, but I can only do one deck at a time, so I hope you enjoyed this particular review. I'll see you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.